The UFC is the best of the best when it comes to mixed martial arts. The top dogs earn as much as, if not more than, any other great athlete. Perhaps that's why they're the highest paid UFC fighters today. However, knowing how much UFC fighters are paid or who the highest paid UFC fighter is difficult, because the UFC does not fully disclose entire fighter compensation, such as bonuses, pay-per-view percentages, and so on. Fortunately, most fighters' pay is quite stable, allowing us to make reasonable approximations and eventually extract specific figures. Every time they step inside the octagon, top UFC competitors are paid in the 5 to 6 figure range. However, some fighters are more popular with the public, and thus earn more money than their peers. I'll be showing you the top 10 highest paid UFC fighters in the world in this video. I base these figures only on their UFC earnings, disregarding any other sources of revenue. But before we go any further, please don't forget to like and subscribe to Combat Giant, and be sure to watch the entire video because it promises to be thrilling. Conor McGregor ranks first among our highest paid UFC fighters, with a salary of $20,102,000 annually. Conor McGregor is the highest paid UFC fighter of all time. As seen by his rewards, he is by far the most popular participant in the promotion thus far. He is the only fighter to have drawn 7-figure amounts in each of his last 5 fights. Conor McGregor has a large advantage over the competition despite fighting just twice since 2016. Conor McGregor got $3 million from the UFC alone for his fight with Khabib Nurmagomedov, according to Forbes. He walked away with more than $50 million. Whether you like him or not, McGregor is a business genius, as every fighter that fought him received the highest pay of their careers. Conor's own words claim that the Donald Cerrone mega fight in January 2020 netted him $80 million. Conor McGregor's earnings from his money fight boxing match with Floyd Mayweather, on the other hand, pale in comparison. The Irishman's official pay for the match was $30 million, but he is said to have made almost $130 million, significantly more than anyone else on this list. Khabib Nurmagomedov is currently ranked second with a salary of $14,770,000. Khabib Nurmagomedov is unsurprising at the top of this list, as he has only lost a round or two in his career, let alone a fight. So far, he's won 29 games and hasn't lost any. However, in his final 3 fights, beginning with the Conor McGregor battle at UFC 229, he earned 92.9% of his career earnings. He is one of the most recognizable and well-known champions in the UFC. He is a well-known name among the championship's highest-paid stars. The former lightweight champion is undefeated in the UFC. His battles against Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier netted him $8.68 million. The Eagle earns $2.54 million versus McGregor, and more than $6 million against Poirier, according to reports. He should have been paid $2 million for the fight, but instead paid $500,000 for the post-fight incident. McGregor's mistreatment finally convinced the UFC of his worth, and he was paid $6 million for each of his next 2 fights, plus $90,000 in incentive money and post-fight bonuses to prove it. The pay-per-view amounts were never published, but they were almost certainly substantially more than $6 million. Alistair Overeem is the third person on my list with a salary of $10,204,500. When a fighter defeats Brock Lesnar in their debut fight, they should expect huge things. That battle was won by Alistair Overeem for a 6-figure payday. In each of his last 6 to 8 fights, he has earned more than $800,000. He has won both of his fights this year, the first by knockout against Walt Harris, and the second by knockout against Augusto Sakai. If the pay of Alistair Overeem's fights outside of the UFC were made public, the $10.2 million would almost surely double. Even so, a UFC fighter earning $10 million in stated compensation is so rare that only 2 other men have ever done it. The majority of that money, though, came from a lucrative UFC deal that ran from May 2016 to November 2018. Each of the 7 matches Alistair fought during that period netted him at least $800,000, accounting for half the money that he earned. Andrei Arlovski is the 4th highest paid UFC fighter, earning the sum of $9,844,000 annually. Most fans, particularly young fans who haven't seen the Pitbull at his best, may be shocked to see Andrei Arlovski ranked so high on this list. Indeed, Arlovski's career earned him almost $3 million from a few fights in between his UFC appearances, the most prominent of which was a $1.5 million fight in 2009 under the Affliction banner against Fedor Emelianenko. Andrei's lifetime earnings in the UFC would be about $7 million in pay-per-view statistics, which would only send him down a few spots on this list if those few fights were excluded. He made his money by fighting for a long time, with his final 10 fights earning him well over $300,000. Anderson Silva is the fifth person on my list today, earning a sum of $9,844,000 annually. For a long time, Anderson Silva was the face of the UFC and MMA. He was unstoppable and entertaining, but it wasn't until he lost his belt that he started making real money. He was paid $600,000 merely for showing up in his first fight against Chris Weidman, and he received the same amount until his retirement. Anderson Silva retired from the UFC in October after a knockout loss to Uriah Hall, to an outpouring of love and devotion from the whole MMA community. Despite losing 5 of his last 6 fights, Anderson Silva is one of the highest-paid UFC fighters. In his first bout in the UFC, the middleweight GOAT earned $66,000, climbing to a 6-figure sum by his 4th. He earned a total of $820,000 in his fight against Derek Brunson at UFC 208, which included $600,000 for turning up, $20,000 from the Reebok sponsorship, and another $200,000 for winning. Jon Jones is ranked 6th with a salary of $8,732,000 annually. Jon Jones made far more than $7.23 million during his time in the UFC. However, we do not know the pay-per-view shares. We only have the payouts that are revealed after each event. Even though he has a lot of controversy surrounding him in his long career, the best fighter to ever compete in the UFC deserves every penny. The former light heavyweight and pound-for-pound champion, Jon Jones has appeared in 15 pay-per-view events, the majority of which were title fights or defenses. According to sources, Jones's biggest payday came against Daniel Cormier at UFC 214, where he defeated DC and retained his light heavyweight title. Bones took home $580,000 in prize money after the fight. The verdict was eventually overturned by the CSAC. After refusing to compete for over a year following his fight with Dominic Reyes at UFC 247, Bones appears to be aiming for a massive boost after returning to the ring and being extremely active for a period. According to speculations, he wants a shot at the heavyweight gold, which would greatly increase his career earnings. Michael Bisping, who earns $7,135,000, is in 8th place. Michael Bisping received about the same amount for each of his fights from November 2009 till he won the belt 7 years later. The Count made his money through hard work and determination, competing in over 25 UFC events and earning a total of $7,135,000. For his fight with Georges St. Pierre, Bisping was paid a whopping $540,000. He was defeated by technical submission, but he was compensated handsomely, allowing him to advance in the ranks. The Count, who debuted in the UFC at TUF 3 and retired in 2018, now works as a UFC announcer and color analyst. He collected the most money for his first championship defense against Dan Henderson and his title loss to Georges St. Pierre. Both battles netted him almost $500,000 without pay-per-view shares. Junior Dos Santos, who earns $7,110,000 annually, is ranked 8th. Junior Dos Santos is a popular former heavyweight champion known for his aggressive personality and lethal striking power. His reported compensation for his career was around $7.1 million, with pay-per-view percentages from some of his biggest fights likely bringing him considerably more. The experienced heavyweight made his UFC debut in 2008 against Fabricio Werdum and has since fought 21 times, winning 6 of them. Dos Santos' highest-paid fight was at UFC 211, when he challenged Stipe Miocic for the heavyweight championship, but lost in the first round. For this match, Junior Dos Santos was paid $830,000. Georges St. Pierre, who earns $7,037,000 annually, is ranked 9th. Georges St. Pierre is without a doubt one of the best octagon fighters of all time. Despite his humble beginnings, GSP ended his UFC career on a high note, collecting a 7-figure salary for his much-anticipated rematch with Michael Bisping in 2017. He earned just over $7 million in disclosed pay throughout his career, with $2.6 million coming in the final fight of his career, 4 years after he first retired. GSP retired as the welterweight champion, then came back to face the Count and claim the middleweight belt, becoming only the 4th fighter in UFC history to win 3 divisions and receive a massive $2,580,000 payoff. Donald Cerrone is the 10th and final fighter on my list today, with a salary of $7,025,800. It's only reasonable that the man who has won the most UFC fights should be at the top of this list. Donald Cerrone worked hard for his money, fighting up to 5 times a year and always ready to put on a show, but never became the champion. Donald Cerrone has competed in more than 50 fights, winning 36 of them. Cowboy has been in the UFC for nearly a decade, but it wasn't until later that he won his biggest payday, thanks to Conor McGregor. Despite losing in 40 seconds, he won more than $200,000 at UFC 246. He earned little more than $7 million over his career. In a fight against Al Iaquinta in 2019, he received $410,000, which was his highest earning fight per disclosed pay. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Who do you expect to be on this list but is not there? Kindly let us know in the comments section, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Combat Giant. And also turn on notifications so you won't miss out on another amazing video like this. Thank you.